Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Ryan.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm feeling comfortable.
Comfortable?
Yeah.
Are you wearing a nice sweater?
Yes.
A nice jumper? Some knitwear?
Yeah, it's a chilly day.
It's a chilly
in
day.
Melbourne today.
It is. In Australia, it will be hot elsewhere, but we're in the part of it where it is cold and wet. So you're needing some nice, comfy, warm attire. Perhaps even you wear some gloves, perhaps, Rachel. Are you a glove wearer? Everyone is listening.
No.
Everyone wants to know. Rachel is not a glove wearer.
Occasionally fingerless mittens style situation, but never full gloves.
She's fingerless because she wants everyone to see that wedding ring on her finger so that they know she's married to a Babylon 5 podcaster, which is the fate that she has gotten herself into.
I actually had a extra, a class that wasn't mine on Friday, and it's a kid that I've known all year. And then she's like, "You're married?"
You're married?
And I'm like, yes.
But you lived in sin, miss. No.
No, but she was surprised that I knew the color of your eyes.
Why wouldn't you know the color of my eyes?
They were like, "Oh, do you have a photo?" And I'm like, "No, he's tall, has curly hair and hazel eyes." And they're like, "You know his eye color." And then one of them was just like, how long have you been together?
Miss, what's his pin number? Miss, what's his blood type? What's his birth certificate? Could I have it, by the way? I'm doing very well. I am having a grand old time. I'm also a little bit melancholic. We're watching B5. We're going through it.
End of an era.
Things are wrapping up. Things are coming to a close.
Saying goodbye.
Saying goodbye to a very special person in this particular episode, but we will get there. But we are YumYumPodcast, the only Australian Babylon 5 podcast in the world. That's right, Australian, not Austrian. I'm not claiming that we're an Austrian podcast, but we are the only Australian Babylon 5 podcast in the entire realm of existence. I've went to heaven and hell and limbo and everything, and we're the only ones. I've traveled through time. No one else is brave enough. Cross universes. No one else is brave enough to take it from us, so we remain. And Yum Yum is a line of dialogue that came from Star Trek Discovery, a series near and dear to our hearts. It was a moment of absolute silliness and absurdity that we wanted to commemorate. We wanted to put it in the forefront of our mind at all time, and so we named the podcast after it. We look at moments of episodes of science fiction TV and say, who would have randomly licked their lips, threw their hair back, and said yum yum like the character in Star Trek Discovery did? Who could have said it in this particular episode of B5? We'll find out in a little while, but we're not alone.
No.
We've brought someone in. We've brought a person of interest in, someone who is from a podcast that has been referenced on our show in the past. We are joined by Sascha of one now of the German podcasts for B5. There's more than one of you now. Hello.
Hello, good evening, and dzień dobry. And we are the only German-speaking Babylon 5 podcast. This year, there's another one started, but they, for some reason, are talking in English. I don't know why.
You sound bitter about it.
They've betrayed their culture.
Yeah, we want to hear we want to hear those guttural German pronunciations of Londo. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear it in English. We want to hear the full, in a sentence of German. That's what we want to hear. Everyone wants to hear it.
I find it hard to express myself in German, so it's even harder to speak in English and do a review in English. So it's I don't know why, but maybe we invited them and we will talk about it.
Well, we are going to challenge you with having to do a review of a Babylon 5 episode in English, but tell us a bit about yourself and your podcast. What's the name of the podcast and your relationship with Babylon 5? You someone who watched it for the first time for your podcast, or did you see it when it came on? Tell us all about yourself, the podcast, and your relationship to Babylon 5.
it started in the 90s. I watched it on TV. It was a little bit later than in the US. A little bit means in 1.5 year until it started in Germany. And I watched it with my best friend, and I liked it very much. I liked Deep Space Nine. I liked Babylon 5. There was no war between Star Trek and B5 for me. And I even had some merchandise. I went to a convention in the 90s. It was a mixed Babylon 5 X-Files convention. I even did my own uniform, Earth Alliance, with a Night Watch badge. And
of course.
Of course.
You knew where you were. You said to yourself, I'm going to make sure that I represent the German fashion that B5 brings in.
Yeah, of course.
Which is armbands.
Yeah, Michael Doyle liked it very much. And it was all for years. It was in the back of my head, and someday I started another podcast and listened to a whole bunch of podcasts, and someday I thought, hey, why don't we start a Babylon 5 podcast? And the idea was born, and at this time it was a transatlantic B5 podcast, because one of the hosts was in the USA, but it didn't work. I don't know why, but it didn't work. The lady didn't have time, and so I was looking for another host, and I found one. It's the host of the German Doctor Who podcast, and we started in January 2016. 16, not 60. We're not
You're
time
in the
travelers.
future.
Yeah. Hello to the past. We release every 14 days until we watched the whole show, and afterwards we started reviewing Crusade and the movies, and we didn't want to do Lost Tales, because when we did Lost Tales, our project was over. So he said, no.
Yeah,
we will do it sometime. We will do it sometime.
That's the reason I keep telling myself we're not going to do the Lost Tales. No, we will.
Hey, you said that we aren't doing Crusade.
It's not because it embarrasses me watching the Lost Tales. I stumbled.
And we said we were waiting for the reboot, and then the reboot came.
Sure.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Well, you got a new animated movie at least, and so there's that.
Hey, it may not be the end of new stuff, so...
That is right. And I found your podcast because I was looking at just Babylon 5 podcasts, and there was this recurring thumbnail, and I'm like, okay, who's this? And obviously it's in German, and I was like, okay, German title, and then I was like, okay, there's a German Babylon 5 podcast, and then I would click it, and it's like, oh, it's all in German, which is fun, because I also don't hear a lot of, like, you know, in other language podcasts for fandom stuff, like for this type of geeky stuff, but I know it exists because whenever I look up science fiction television shows like Space Above and Beyond or Doctor Who, as mentioned before, I will always see these German podcasts about. I'm like, well, I guess these Germans are real big sci-fi nerds. It's not like I'm stumbling across French podcasts for these shows, or you know what I mean? Like, it's always German.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I scratch my head going, is it the same? Germans. I have no evidence because I can't tell. It's all in German. It's not my fault. I can't be blamed. What's the name of your show again? How is it said, and what does it mean? Because I just see it all. I just see the German name, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. Is it Babylon 5 podcast in German? I don't know. Tell me.
It's called Der Graue Rat, which is the translation for the Grey Council.
Oh, you're the Grey Council, of course.
Yeah. We have 6 members, so
oh, wow.
It
you need 3
yeah.
more.
Yeah, of course. we have guests sometimes, and we are doing our ratings. We were sitting there and thought, how do we rate? Do we plus? Do we do school notes? Or
Letter grades, all that stuff.
Letter grades or something.
Percentage, thumbs up, thumbs down, out of 5, out of 10.
And then we thought, we are 6 people in the Grey Council, and Centauri have 6.
Oh, lovely. So it's a base system.
We are doing our ratings in penises.
We have 6, you see, and each one has a different level of intimacy and pleasure. So, first you have 1, and that's, and then there's 2, and then by the time you get to 5, it's like,
I got it.
Sascha, we like to read the DVD descriptions for the episodes because they always have a unique little piece of flavor to them. There's some kooky writing in the DVD descriptions, at least in English, but I don't know what they're like in German. And so for a bit of fun, I would love to hear what the German DVD description is for the Chorus Mother, the Chorus Father in German, of course.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Der Psy-Chor wird genauer vorgestellt. Bester verfolgt einen unberechenbaren Telepath-Rekruten, der durchdreht und Amok läuft. Durch diesen Fall wird deutlich, wie die geheimnisvollen Bewusstseinskops denken und handeln.
It feels like it's longer than in the English one, but I can't tell if it's
Everything
just
is
German.
longer in German.
That's it. I can't tell if it's just German is longer when it's not being yelled at you.
Okay, there's a lot of compound words.
There is. I want to know how well this comes across. So in English, it is an inside look at Psy-Core. Bester's hunt for an unstable telepath trainee who's on a mind-shattering death spree sheds light on the policies and practices of the mysterious brain power cops. How well do these DVD descriptions meet up with one another? Is there any correlation, or are they completely different?
It's a great correlation. In the middle part, there's a little difference, but the mysterious mind?
The unstable telepath trainee who's on a mind-shattering death spree.
It's no mind-shattering death spree here, so he's only crazy and running amok in German.
But the most important is, does it say, and the practices of the mysterious brain power cops? That's the part I want to know. Is that there?
Yeah, they say geheimnisvolle Bewusstseinskops. And it's, mysterious. How do you translate Bewusstsein?
Look, I always ask myself that late at night. I'm always sweating in the middle of the night saying, how do I translate that? But I love that there is crossover with these DVD descriptions, because every description of Babylon 5 on the website, so whether they're IMDb or Tubi or Amazon back in the day, they're all different to one another, and I just want to know who's responsible for these, and we'll never know the answer to that. We say that it's JMS himself wrote the DVD descriptions, and there's no evidence to say otherwise, so we have the proof in the pudding by the fact that he writes basically all of the show, so why not the DVD descriptions? Rachel, we're experts in YYE.
Yes.
Which is?
Yum Yum Energy.
We look at a character who has yum yum energy, that certain vibe to them that makes you squint and say, are they going to lick their lips, throw their hair back, and exclaim yum yum randomly? Mm-hmm. Who in this episode, the Chorus Mother, the Chorus Father, would have said yum yum if JMS was not a coward?
Now, we have a very pared back cast for this episode. There's limited choices. And some of our usual favourites are not here as contenders. There's no Londo. There's no Jakar. And Bester does bring YYE.
He's very restrained in this episode.
But yeah, he's not fully bringing it. He's in work mode. He's even though he's got the sweater.
And he's sexy, and he's objectively sexy to the women in the show. That's so funny.
He's powerful.
He's powerful.
Ugly men who have power attract women.
He has nice hair. It's a nice.
It's not his own hair.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's a nice little piece. So you got to lie about that? It's nicely combed.
I couldn't stop staring at this wig.
No one could.
It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. You couldn't stop looking at it.
That's the compliment. Is it his wig? Is it his fucking wig? Would say Yum Yum at this point. But it is a hard thing to choose.
So I am gonna go with Chen.
He was an idiot.
He was an idiot. And I just imagine him after having like I use this trick to get into the girls' dormitories and just him mentally picturing boobs and just being like, yum, yum.
That's a good answer. And my answer is Bryce, the lurker thug who wants to team up with our mind-shredding
absolutely
telepath on the run, because he is that classic case of a Babylon 5 tough guy, in which he's just an English street urchin. And he would lick his lips and say, "I'm your mate, yum yum," and I adore him. And Sascha, before we hear your answer, I got to know, in the German dub of things, with characters in the show in the English version that English-speaking version that have different accents to our main characters, do the German dubs bother to try to do a different accent? Like, is there a German dub of Bryce in which they're doing a Cockney accent but in German? Is there any of that in the show?
No.
Absolutely.
Short answer, no.
Why not? Why are they cowards in the German dub?
Well, when there's a neat little thing. If you watch old movies where someone speaks German, maybe some, of course, war films, and, you have German officers, and everyone speaks perfect German. And the Germans speak some accent. Sounds like they're from Bavaria or from the coast or something, of Saxony. So the German characters don't speak German in the German war movies, but everyone else. I don't know why, because
I guess it's like a differentiation of like class, perhaps. I don't know, because I know like in English movies, right, like to let you know that a character's evil, they speak with a very refined British accent. That's how you know they're evil, because they speak like the King's English, you see. I'm ever so evil. So who would have said yum yum in this episode, in your expert opinion, as the only German-speaking podcast for Babylon 5? Who would have said yum yum in the core's mother, the core's father?
It's definitely the former Blip, because you had to wear the most ugly wig. And you remember him?
Oh yeah,
he did the
like,
commercial, because I was a Blip one time, and
he was great. And that actor, he was in the season earlier. He played Tania, the ranger in training that came to the station and had to fight against an evil British man called Trace.
Of course, an evil British man
who's evil and British, and he was. Guess what he was? A thug down below. Oh my. It all adds up. The Core's Mother, the Core's Father is an episode that I've always enjoyed. I like this one. When it comes on, I get a big smile on my face, and I just can't help but laugh. I find this episode very, very funny. I just find it so amusing that we are afforded a day in the life of Bester, who is a character that every time he comes onto the show is a highlight. Walter Koenig absolutely gives it his all in every episode he's in, so it's almost like it's a reward for the actor and the character and us, the viewer, to get an episode all about Bester. And it's him. He's the lead character. He's the hero of the story, and it just makes me giddy when we have to come back for a revisit of the season, because he goes through an incredible journey as a character. He gets to come in and be the boots on the ground of Babylon 5, where they had to call him in for help, and he obviously fucks it up. Byron dies and everything goes sideways. And then the follow-up to that giant story is him just being supremely competent at his job. I love that. Rachel, the Core's Mother, the Core's Father, it's a gimmick episode, but what has been your views on it?
I'm always slightly confused that it took Bester so long to write the report on the last time he was there. Because he's just like, oh, I should have it ready. It should be on your desk by the end of the afternoon. It's like, that was weeks ago, Bester.
He forgot.
Come on.
He didn't remember Byron.
Come on, you are meant to be more competent than this.
He just forgot about Byron. He just couldn't remember. Lita didn't hold his hand and tell him to remember.
No, it's an episode that I always have a lot of fun with. It goes by really quickly in a good way because everything just flows together really nicely. And it's fun to spend time with Bester at the core and just the new little bits of lore that we get in this episode. It's just fun.
It is. It's got that joy.
It's just like, it should not be this fun to watch the Psychor because they're bad people. They're really bad people, but it's fun.
Well, I like the episode very much because I always thought that in most science fiction shows, the Earth should be fleshed out more. When we think of Star Trek, there are few episodes where we are on Earth, and it always looks terrible, like stuck in the 17th century. And,
just like, this is Utopia?
Yeah.
Utopia
of course.
looks this ugly?
No, it's not Utopia. It's dystopia for me. I don't want to live there because I'm not so much a conformist, and I would soon kicked out of paradise.
That's why the Psychor is a great place to visit.
Yeah, of course. So Psychor gets fleshed out a lot more in this episode, and as we also know, the monster doesn't see a monster in the mirror. Maybe sometimes another telepath, but not a monster. And we got an inside view into the Psychor, and they even changed the title of the episode, the intro of the episode. It's a neat little fact I liked. I didn't remember. I always confuse it with the episode where we are, the first episode where we do a report.
Yeah,
news
the
report
ISN
on
episode. Yeah. I think of that too.
There's a little commercial for the Psychor inside it, if I remember correctly.
That's right. With a subliminal message in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I always remember the little boy with the combed back hair, and now the core is my mother and my father, and I think, oh. Yeah, I really like the episode. I like Bester. He's the antagonist, but in his view, he's not the bad person, and it's always fun to see him. To get a visit by Bester. Sometimes he helps the people on Babylon 5. Sometimes he works against them.
He always helps himself.
But I have never seen anyone fight for our people the way you do. You don't let go, do you?
No. To tell you the truth, Lauren, there are some days when I think that's a good thing, and other days I'm not so sure.
I am.
One of the things that's interesting about season 5 is it's filled with gimmick episodes. Episodes that are not typical. Episodes that have a marker to them that you will forever remember them because they are unusual. Whether it is a shift in perspective, this is not unusual. We had Mac and Bo earlier in the season, in which let's take a look at Babylon 5, but from the point of view of the common worker of the station, the people who fix the stuff. And now we have another gimmick episode, or another episode with a specific way of telling the story. And usually, especially if you're doing this in your last season or two, it can be seen as a weakness. It can be seen as maybe creatively limiting or bankrupt, in which you are grabbing at straws.
You ran out of ideas, didn't you? So you're doing it's this kind of episode, and it's that kind of episode. and just throwing anything in the mix because it's like, oh, we got time.
Yeah, I like most of the gimmick episodes of season 5. I do feel like there is an air of there is too many of them. I think there's one too many of them, but I don't have issues with the individual episodes as much. I look at it more as it's a case of, it's the final year of the show. Why can't I? Why can't I just have an episode where Londo has a heart attack and we enter his brain? Why can't I have an episode? Yeah, it's a great episode. It's a great episode. But the
problem is not on an individual basis. It's the cumulative effect of all of them being in one season.
Because we've had like 4 or 5 of them. and it's a lot, but I enjoy them for the most part. But when we started the season, Rachel, we knew this going in and we said it wasn't as much of a problem. How are you with it now, with this being another one?
Fine. I'm fine with it. I like what I get in each episode, so I'm fine with it.
And what about this one kind of pushes it even further into the point of it being not only worthy, but one that you remember as well? Because you talked about earlier in our run that there were some of them that you don't remember as much as others, or they don't leap out as much as others. So why is this one a particular example of episode doing that?
Because Bester is fucking awesome, and it's awesome to just get all of him. Uncensored. Full frontal Bester. And it's interesting because it is fully him, but it is sort of a return to like season 1 Bester because he is fully in his job. He is being a psychop every second that we're seeing him. And the last time we saw him, he was vulnerable. He was raw. He was a person. I can't remember if it was like one of the last times that we saw him. He's just like, yeah, I am this.
Oh, he fucked over Garibaldi and he loved it. He's like, yeah, I've done this to your brain and you can't do anything about it. Haha.
And like, I think of his conversation with Sheridan after the Civil War. Of he's like, did you do anything with my popsicle girlfriend? Because I will fuck you up.
Who gets referenced in this episode?
I will fuck you up. But he isn't hiding behind the veneer of the core with our characters from Babylon 5. But since he's coming from the core and he has an audience of psychops, he very much is back in that space.
They also feed his ego while Babylon 5 starves it. And so he shifts the way he behaves. They like him at the core. He's a hero. He's someone that they aspire to be.
He's got one of those faces.
He's got one of those faces that people love to talk to. Sascha, for you, what are your thoughts on season 5? I know some people are mixed on it, and a part of that is because you have a few of these type of episodes in which it is perhaps an indulgence or signs of a strain, or just they're fun. What are your thoughts on the gimmick episodes of that build up in the final season and the 5th season itself?
Well, we know what the big problem of season 5 is, or who.
Yes.
But I already forgot him. It would be a problem, or it would disturb much more if there hadn't been episodes like this in the previous seasons. But we had the one. The final episode of season 4 was different. We had the news episode. We had the
interrogation episode with Sheridan.
The interrogation episode. We had the episode where the news team is visiting B5 the second time, and the whole second part is a news report about B5. So we have seen shows like episodes like this before on the show. So Yeah, maybe they are 4 in this season, but hey, if we look on the other side to Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, they are at season 2 right now, and they have a musical episode.
At this point.
What was the other strange? The crossover episode with Lower Decks.
It's
season 2.
We got the musical. Strange New Worlds just throws everything.
Yeah. And they have seasons with 10 episodes nowadays.
That is true. And
they have 2 strange episodes and out of 10. And no offensive about season 5.
No offense to season 5. You've earned it at this point. I mean, a huge love of this is we get to see the Psi Corps. We get to actually go visit the headquarters. We get to see
and the mothership.
The rooms. And there's a mothership. We learn about a mothership and that they've got more ships in space and that they're building up a fleet. They're being evil.
So ready for war.
I love so viscerally their aesthetic.
Yeah,
they have the prisoner up the wazoo. It's like if the prisoner was specifically Nazis, like it is so.
Are we thinking that more because we're actually watching the prisoner?
Oh, but I knew that before. And like it has the font, it has like the They Live kind of thing as well. But also everyone's dressed like 1930s Germany. Everyone's got their hair perfectly styled. It's just so obvious what they are. And it goes to the point of turning back around and being like funny. I don't find the Psi Corps at all scary in this episode.
No.
And that's always been the trick with the show is they make Psi Corps and the telepaths in general, they make them upsetting, scary, villainous, and sympathetic as well. But there's also a level of fun to it when Bester comes on board and he's dressed in all in black with his hair combed to the side and his gloves and his badge, and he's telling you that you're less than him because he's superior to you in an evolutionary sense. And we know what he is. We know what they're doing. And so when you get a whole episode in which we're in their rooms, in their houses, and it's exactly what you think it is, I don't need it to be a subversion. I don't need it to be like, oh, they try to be nice and friendly. No. They don't even try. They're overt in being propaganda, and all their propaganda and all of their training is horrible and evil. Like, they look miserable. Everyone looks miserable, and I love it. And I just adore how they all treat it as if it's good. Just these horrible things. They all smile and say, oh man, she won't get to go to the concert tonight. And they have concerts and they live in their own little bubble. They live in their bubble of things. And it's just gross, but it's adorable. Like I remember in another episode, we saw the outside and there was a statue of a mother and daughter, like a mother, daughter, and father all holding hands outside of the Psi Corps. And it's like, yeah, that's what they want. They want you to think that it's all family. The Corps is mother, the Corps is father. For you, Sascha, when it comes to being able to go to Earth, as you said, it's a bit of fun. We get to go through the corridors and these rooms of the Psi Corps. You get to see their activities, their training, the videos they watch. I mean, how does it land for you? And do you have any particular favorite moments of it or details?
Well, since I'm working in an office, I find it quite familiar sometimes. It's working life, of course. And you said they are living in a bubble. They actually are living in a bubble. If you are looking at the outside, they have the Psi Corps buildings inside a huge dome. And they are, we are here and there's the outside. Nothing says that more clear than a huge dome above your office building. And I like the structure. Everything is clear and clean. Yeah, they have white, not white, but gray, but light walls. And on the walls and on the floors, you have straight lines. Everything is. Yeah, you know what I mean.
everything is rigid.
Yeah. And I like that they do PowerPoint presentation, that they are visiting concerts. And I like the typical efficiency of an office when they say, Bester, you take the 2 interns and go after our blip, and the rest of us are doing research here. I say, yeah, send 3 out of 20 out of the mission, out to the mission, and the rest stays here and do research. You know,
they're going to stay back home. It's fine.
It's efficient.
Get these 2 who don't even know basic training, even though they should. Get them to go.
Yeah,
I friends.
That always throws me off a bit because it's just like they say that they're interns.
But they don't know these basic training things that he has to explain to us, the audience.
And it's just like, well, they have to be P12s. No, it's automatically if they're P12s, they have to be Psychops.
And then
they might be weaker than that.
And then they vet you. They're P12s. These 2 are P12s.
Yeah,
and,
they're like part of a program. They got drafted in.
I can believe that Chen doesn't listen. I believe that Chen puts his fingers in his ears and go la 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 la. Well, what's Lauren?
She should know freaking everything.
She should know everything.
She's a massive sucker.
I love. There was that moment where she looks in on their training, where she's using her abilities to check what they're doing, and even before we see it, the way that the camera frames her face, she's in the center. The contrast really sharpens around it, and it feels very like old school movie making. Like that visual reminds me of something you'd see in Metropolis or something like that. Like a Fritz Lang movie. Again, the aesthetics of this episode with the set, the costumes, the hair, even the shot compositions is very much like, hey, 1930s Germany did exist, by the way.
We're
going to do that.
I thought of a counterpoint to my own point.
Yes.
Which is in cults, which the Psychod definitely is, you don't get the full picture. You only ever get what you need to know, and then as you get deeper in, you learn more. So that could be why they're ignorant. It's just you don't need to know that yet.
They're innocent.
You're
lambs.
not ready for that.
Oh, and,
it's just
and
like,
we see her.
Now you're ready to kill a man, so you're doing well in your training.
Now give me a massage and let's go home. But that image of what she sees of their psychic attacks and defense,
freaking ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but it's also
it's fitting.
It's like he's got like tentacles, and it makes me think of like the Shadows, right? Because that's like a similar aesthetic for them. And then the other person has like the white angelic like floating cube like things, just dodging it and ducking it. It's just so strange. And that's, again, Stephen First is brought in and told, you're directing the weird episode. Like, you need the episodes with like,
or did he ask
absolutely
for them?
Kooky? Yeah,
we don't know.
I have no clue how he got the weird episodes. I hope he asked for them. I hope he said, hey, Joe, can I get like your strangest shit? And could you please let me have a crack
The ones
at it?
where you're like, I don't think any of our regulars will want to touch it. Give them to me. Give them to me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
He will do it all. And the episode is following Bester. It's a day in the life, it's a journey of Bester. We follow an adventure through his point of view. And so we see what he is to everyone, which is a hero. He's a hero to all of the Psychops and to the Psy-Corps. And the episode does a very meticulous job at making it that way. It's written almost as if there's a sympathy towards Bester, as if, hey, he is the main character of the story. It's like
nobody
you're removing
sees him as a villain in this perspective. So
it's almost as if it wants to remove the context of the previous 4 seasons of adventures that he's had.
5 hours from the time you get here to the first dead body shows up on the deck. That's a record even for you.
That's completely unfair. Can't you see he's just trying to help?
Lauren, the med techs confirmed that the body has been lying here for over 2 days. He was dead before we got here.
Yeah, they told me. But I never let the facts get in the way of a good grudge.
The thrust of this is written as a typical cop show. And that's where it excels, because we know that Bester is a cop, and for all of his villainy, for all of his grand plans and schemes, at the heart of everything he does is just cop bullshit. He's just a filthy cop. And he starts the show as a cop with delusions of grandeur, and he ends the show as a cop with delusions of grandeur. He thinks of himself so highly, and yet he hasn't really moved forward. He's still in the same spot.
He goes out on top.
And his story is just to solve a really, by the books case. Someone on campus has been killed. This person probably did it. Go get them. And that's his life. That's his life. And yet he keeps saying throughout the whole entire show that, no, my life isn't as simple as that. I do really complex shit. And I'm secretly building up my kingdom for myself because I see myself as the grand leader of the telepaths, and there will be a war soon and we have to fight each other. But everything he does in the show is just cop stuff. And so the final story of his to be just what is a very, very, I would say it, boring, lackluster, dull cop story in any other show is very intriguing to me to make his story because it is
a gimmick.
It's tropey. This episode's tropey. Yeah. It's JMS using all of his previous writing skills to give us a boilerplate story of, there's a guy who's gone crazy, and he has multiple personalities, which means they have different levels of telepathic abilities, and Bester, he doesn't realize that, but he has to slowly figure it out, and they have to bring him in, and he interacts with the local cops who just don't get it, but in this case, the local cops is one of the main characters of the show that we watch, and he has to interact with the local doctor who's, again, one of the main characters of the show that we regularly watch, but in this, it's all framed as if this was a regular episode of like Law and Order or something, and he's having to talk to like the dipshit local boys who don't understand anything, but he gets in. And it's supremely well written in that regard, in which they make the cop stuff boring, but since it's in this show, it becomes far more fascinating because we're doing it with this character who's usually a lot more interesting than this.
I love Franklin being like, you want to scan me? You want to prove that I wouldn't let you fall? Like, and the way that that's immediately flipped around. It's just like, oh, maybe not all of you are that bad. It's just like, oh, no, here's the proof of my worldview walking right through that door. I really liked that scene in particular on this watch. And I do love Zach in this so much.
You have to give him credit because he's not sympathetic, but he does his work. He's the one who finds out where to catch the blip.
Yeah,
I don't know how, but at some point in the episode they said, he's seen there, and we have to go there, and he's. I said before, he's competent in his job.
Oh, but he also delights in the misfortune of Bester. When they find a dead body, Zach Allen says in the most jovial of way, well, Mr. Bester, a dead body, and you've only been here for 5 hours. You've really outdone yourself this time. Like, it's very macabre what's going on, but Zach Allen's just treating it as like another roast fest for Bester. Oh, what's that? We've got a call. There's another dead body, Bester. I think it's your guy who did it. And I fucking love Jeff Conaway's line delivery of when Bester says, what makes you think it's one of ours? Just call it a hunch. He just says it with such venom in his voice. Just call it a hunch.
The little moments in this episode which make them the episode great. It's the dialogues like that, or the barkeeper, he's gold. It's a little role. He's a barkeeper, and he's
so unnecessary. So unnecessary, but it's delightful.
But those characters are always in these shows, in these cop shows, and he does it in the way that you would see. But he's talking about aliens instead. It's like, hey, I've seen a naked pack mirror once. You want to hear about that? You want to hear about that? He's the snitch. That's what he is. Like, he's the barkeep snitch who's like, yeah, I got information for you. And even Bester deals with the Drazi, who gives him information like, oh, yeah, he did some fencing with this Drazi, and he tried to tell me to go over here, but his brain was telling me over there. So, yeah, always trying to one-up us, but don't they know that I am a cool psychic? It has those other genre trappings on top of the detective show that you are watching for the 45 minutes. With one of the flips of perspective I loved was, you said Franklin. Both of the Franklin scenes are standouts, but I really like the first one in which Franklin is telling them the medical reasons for what's gone on, and through his expertise, which is very extensive, like he's a very well respected doctor, and he knows his shit. He's very competent. He tells them what he thinks and that this is what's going on, and Bester rejects it because that can't be the case. Our guy isn't high enough in the power rankings to do that, and Franklin has no judgment in his voice at all. He just says, well, they may have been a mistake. Maybe you guys got something wrong because my science says otherwise. And Bester just gives him this flippant, like, yeah, nah, that can't be it. We don't get things wrong. We never get a single thing wrong. And he has this very cutting moment where Franklin says, like, oh, I see. And Bester says, I very much doubt that. He's just so mean to Franklin, who's done nothing. Like, Franklin has no antagonism to Bester, and Bester hates him anyway because he's a mundane. It's one of those.
But didn't Bester's boss tell him that the fugitive is able to do the thing Franklin just mentioned?
He's able to shred minds, but he's not able to fucking cause like the aneurysms in the brain in the same way, apparently. I don't know why, but sure. And the other Franklin scene is wonderful because he challenges directly. He challenges Bester's ideology, which has gone unchallenged in the entire episode. Everyone agrees with him, and the only people to challenge Bester's ideology is Bester himself, admitting that sometimes he wonders if he goes too far. Sometimes he wonders if he's doing a good thing or not, and then he's reassured that he is. But the only other person to truly challenge him is Franklin. And I love that, because that's what Franklin's all about. Like, he doesn't, like, Franklin, out of the command staff of Babylon 5, he's the only one that's never had a problem with telepaths. He's never seen them.
He's actively helped them.
Yeah, he's actively helped them. He has no bigotry. He has no fear of them. He thinks of them as just people. And so there's that added extra layer to him saying he would help Bester if he fell. Like, I would not do it just out of instinct, but out of my obligation as a human being, as a good person, because I care. You can read my mind. You'll see that I'm not lying, and that would shake the foundation of your beliefs that all mundanes must hate all telepaths, and all telepaths must hate all mundanes, and we have to choke each other out and fight to the death for superiority, and it's all bullshit. And I adore that because Franklin doesn't get much to do in this episode. He gets 2 scenes, but his 2 scenes are probably the most important scenes in terms of Bester's character in the episode.
I was banging my head on the table when what's his name, Shang, is breaking into the room with this obvious breaking in device and people running around. No. And he's, of course, he sneaked on the academy. He sneaked into the girls' rooms.
Oh yeah, because he's a pervert.
Watched them showering. Yeah. Oh, what a jerk!
Because the Psy-Corps is creepy.
Yeah,
they're all sex creeps there. They do horrible...
I love to watch.
That's the least of the weird sex stuff at the Psy-Corps we need to worry about. That's the least of the concerns.
I was a little concerned or amazed because in some moments, many moments actually in the episode, the Psychops don't sense other people approaching.
Oh yeah.
I was a little bit shocked by this.
Well, the trainees are dumb. if that helps you any.
Yeah.
They are.
Okay.
Talia
Yeah, it
also was bad at sensing other people, and she was a commercial telepath, so what's her excuse?
I think that has to do with the amount of walls that they have to have up to keep people out.
I was thinking about the underlying sexual tension between Bester and Lauren during this, in which he rebuffs it, and then when they're on the station, they become so friendly, and Chen's just this awkward third wheel, and thus he gets murdered in the narrative because we can no longer have him here, and he dies like an idiot.
He served his purpose.
He dies real good. And
it's actually good that he dies because when they are riding back home to the corpse, there are only 4 seats in the shuttle. So
that's very lucky for them.
Yeah.
And also, the guy had a very convenient
they
tattoo.
wouldn't have had his murderer on there if he didn't.
That's
die,
right.
so.
Sure. The mundane wouldn't have been taken if he didn't kill one of them. So there you go. That's Bryce's curse. He really locked himself in that. And when Zach just rattles off with no true care about how much he's upset at the young psychop in training being brutally stabbed in the heart. And he just says, that's so sad. He was so young, and he clearly doesn't mean it. And Bester calls him out on that. He lists like all of these beautiful things he likes, but crocodile tears is not one of them, Mr. Allen. And the budding relationship between Bester and Lauren in this episode, in which he tries to be noble and rebuff her and no, but then he starts telling little private jokes to her, and they're smiling and winking at each other and nudging each other, and he realizes that she's the smarter one out of the two of them. To give Chen some credit, he questions things more than Lauren does. Mm-hmm. Like, he says, I don't know if that's right. This. And Lauren's the one who's like, golly gee, I don't know if that makes sense, but if you tell me the reason, I'll just accept it. And she's naive, he's dumb. But there is a difference that he was able to see some of the bullshit, but he's not smart enough to do anything about it. Well, she's not as good at that. She's not really the most qualified with it. Thus, it kind of bites her in the ass at the end in terms of her morality.
She's too enamored.
What did you say about the guard?
Nothing. Just said a joke, a dirty joke.
From the way you laughed, I'll probably stay up all night wondering what we know about his personal life.
Exactly. That is why, at the end of the day, the struggle between mundanes and telepaths will be no struggle at all. Come on, we got work to do.
This is his last episode. This is the last episode of Walter Koenig as Bester. This is the last Bester story in the show Babylon 5. He's not in any of the movies. He's not in Crusade. He was going to be in Crusade. I know about the script, but he wasn't in it in the end. This is the last we get, and it's a comedy in a lot of ways. Like, it's very funny. It's very over the top. Even the boilerplate cop stuff has just 90s cheese all over it. And in any other show, with any other character as well, I would say that this is a serious breach of quality, because the show has fallen too madly in love with its villain to the degree of making them no longer scary, and they give them goofy material because it's funny. Usually that would mean many things to me. Like when we did Star Trek Discovery, that's Empress Georgiou. She's a silly dictator character that they just love writing quips for, and she's never, in fact, menacing or intimidating or someone of any moral consequence you worry about.
They remove her teeth. They don't remove Bester's teeth.
In this one, I would say, in this one, he's nice.
Yeah, but he's not toothless.
Yeah, I mean, he allows bad shit to happen at the end, so he does do stuff
and he rewards her for killing somebody.
And
he reinforces the idea that telepaths are more valuable than mundanes, and that mundanes are lesser. Their lives are not worth anything, and mundanes who harm us need to be destroyed. There's no question about that. you as an individual have the authority to end that man's life.
And if you think a bit further with the ending as well, his newfound bond with this trainee, there's a lot of unsettling implications of things to come with her and him, and just the whole cycle of the routine. He lives in a cycle. He just does this constantly.
This is what happened with Carolyn.
This is what happened with Miss Kelsey. Like, this is always the case. He always is just doing this, whether it is on his own or with someone else. He just is in a pattern, and it will not break. And the episode ends with that. Like, he just gets to clap his hands and say, "Let's go back home."
He gets away with it.
He's challenged, but it's never. He's never defeated. Like, Bester wins. Like, Bester gets to walk away thinking he's right, and he is never proven otherwise. And so I see it like that as well when it comes to like that teeth aspect. Like, we end this one where he successfully groomed this girl to be his new partner and protege, and I don't use groom as a word lightly. There's many ways you can take that, and I think that the episode knows it too. There's many things going on here. For you, Sascha, this is the last Bester episode. This is his last story. This is what they end on. And they don't make it clear that this will be the end of Bester. This does, like, when I watched it, I didn't realize that this would be the last time we would see him. So how does it land for you in that way, of this being the last of him?
I didn't thought about it, that is the last Bester show episode, but it's a nice send-off, indeed, actually. As you said, he never loses his bite. The worst thing you can do with villains on shows is you have to let them win from time to time. Unless it's if you don't do it, it's get you next time, Janeway. And
it's the Kazons, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Sascha.
Oh God,
it's Sascha.
A good villain has to win at some point, and I like. Sounds bad if I say it, but I like the casual evil doing. He's shrugging away. Okay, my intern is dead. Okay, this guy is dead. You can put the mundane out of the airlock, and. I have to do some paperwork, but we do it.
It's his business.
Yeah, it's business. It's casual evil doing, and it's the most scary evil doing for me. It's not because I'm a bad person, because just business as usual. We have to cut some edges sometimes. But what's the impression in German? You say if you
cut corners.
Yeah, wenn man Holz sägt, dann fallen Späne, you say in Germany.
We all say it.
If you Yeah.
It's the ends justifies the means for him a lot.
Yeah. And if you are doing woodwork, they are falling chops off the wood.
Yeah.
And you have a nice statue at the end. That's it's the meaning of the proverb, as I said.
Oh, nice. We need to adopt those, Rachel. Some German proverbs into our lives.
And it's a great send-off, but I have a very big question. If this is the last we see of the Psy-Corps, we see they have several motherships. They have neat, great big buildings on Earth and other colonies, I guess.
Yeah, secret base on Mars.
The next time the Psy-Corps is mentioned, it's on Crusade. And there the Psy-Corps is resolved. I don't remember it. Is the big teased war ever happening?
We never got to see the telepath war on the screen. No. The most we get is Lita.
They jump over that.
Lita's group begins to attack the Psy-Corps headquarters, thus making things destabilize to the point in which.
And it's acknowledged in the finale of season 4 as well.
Yes, of course.
And the books exist, but I don't care about the books. We're talking about the film stuff, and this is the thing. I've always been fine with this being the last episode for Bester, but I know for many people out there, they wanted to see the telepath war, but also the Bester be outdone, to finally meet his end, because he's a character that's very slippery. He's got one over on everyone, and
it doesn't make sense for him to die, though. He's not that kind of villain.
A lot of people want that catharsis of the shitty guy gets what he deserves, and
for him to eat shit.
And the truth is, and I'm just going to say it, and no offense if you're one of those people, I know my good friend, Julio, was really upset that the show ends with Garibaldi not getting to kill Bester on the screen. He was like, fucking hell, I thought we were going to see Bester and Garibaldi face off, and then you never do. It's implied to have happened in the interim of the 5th season and the final episode with Sleeping in Light. Like, you guess it's dealt with. But I've always been fine with that, because I think the truth is people don't know what they actually want. People say they want that, but when you actually get it, it's some of the times, honestly, a lot of the times, it's very empty. I always think of Gul-Dukat in Deep Space Nine, where it's like the greatest villain of the whole entire, not just of Deep Space Nine, but of Star Trek. Like, he's the most nuanced, most complex, fleshed out villain. Just push him off a cliff.
The last season is terrible. He's terrible. Last few episodes, I did a lot of TV in my business, but I always get the itch to cut the last 10 episodes into one. Because it's so long, and it's like school play at sometimes. The parts with Kai Wynn and Gul-Dukat on Mbryo, but
even
then,
bad. Kai Wynn was the really more interesting antagonist out of the two of them. She was like, she makes sense, but the point being is, you get Game of Thrones, they kill Littlefinger or the Spider because they're shifty characters who have been just getting away with stuff, and then they get killed and it's empty. It means nothing. It's just there for the catharsis of the audience. But guess what? The audience don't actually know what they need sometimes. And I've always said, Bester is a great example of a character who does not die on the screen. In fact, he wins. He gets to clap his hands and say, I've won. I've learned nothing because I've been correct the entire time. And that's a perfectly valid way to end an antagonist, because the message is saying that some evils get to continue. Not everything gets wrapped up. Not every piece needs to be tied off at the end.
It's not as satisfying as all that.
It's like the Drock and the Drock and the Telepaths are two factions of this show that get to end the show having succeeded, and most likely they will get defeated later on, but we don't need to see it. What we need to know is, after the conclusion of this episode, as well as this season, there's going to just be evil still out there, because that's what happens. It's not just good wins the day and everyone's at peace. It's not like we're living in a utopia in Babylon 5. It doesn't work like that. And so the Nazi cop gets to win is a perfectly good end to a storyline. I like it. I think it's always been an example of why Babylon 5 gets it. Babylon 5 gets it. There is no, we just shot Bester and he's dead now, and now we feel good because he's been a bad guy that's been getting away with it for 5 seasons. No, instead, JMS sits back and says, no, Bester deserves better than losing. And I agree. I don't think he deserves to lose. I think it would be very enjoyable, but I don't think it would be actually satisfying. Rachel, this is the last Bester episode. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. And we've had a conversation about the ending of Bester each time we've watched the show and in between watches, because we much prefer this over a villain that gets dumb so they can get defeated.
One of the drawbacks of instinct. If you had a chance to think about it, you would have been content to let me fall.
No, that's not true.
No?
No. Care to scan me to find out? I'll authorize it. Or would you rather go on believing that our kind and your kind have to hate each other? No compromises.
You're an optimist. Thank you. I'd almost forgotten what one of your kind looked like.
I think it's time, Rachel, to talk about an actor or actress that appeared in the episode.
Yes.
Turn on the spotlight, the part of the show in which we do discuss a performance of a particular star and their career. We go into it, go over if they've been in anything we've seen before, as well as any interesting pieces of trivia. And we're going to be talking about the actress who played the character of Lauren. And who is the actress, Rachel?
Dana Barron.
Dana Barron, who plays Lauren, and she is great. I love her performance in this. She is pitch perfect as that baby-faced, young, doe-eyed, innocent, naive girl. She also has the hairstyle and just the expressions. It's just everything is you don't even need the sound on to tell what her character is. The actress just physically embodies this role so well. And I said this to you, Rachel, that how tall is she? Because she must be short if Walter Koenig is towering over her. He is taller.
Well, we calculated it at like 2-3 inches shorter than him.
She is 5'3", he's 5'6", but I'm like, she must be really short if he is towering over her, because he's always being like the short one in the room in every scene of this show, because the cast of Babylon 5 are ludicrously tall. Like Bruce Boxleitner is
giant.
Bruce Boxleitner is just casually 6'3" and then Jerry Doyle's like 6'4". Like everyone's really tall. And then you get this, and it's like our lead is a short man, a relatively short man,
and
an even shorter
woman.
But she's not that short. I was like, she mustn't be 5 foot if she's this short. But she's also very young looking, and that works in her benefit because she was. I can't remember how old she was when she did this. I think she was like in her like early 30s perhaps, or the late 20s. But I was like, oh, she must be like 22 years old or something, but she just has a very young face. But when I look over her career, she's had to play a lot of characters who are like teenagers or children, and she was a child actor as well, and she has a very prominent role in a specific movie that we'll obviously talk about. But for you, Rachel, what did you think of this performance? Because she's basically the second lead of the episode.
Yeah, I think she does a really good job, and I buy that she's that enamored with Bester and that she's that indoctrinated into the values of the Corps.
Do you believe that she's hot for Bester?
Yeah, I do.
Was there a particular scene or a moment of her performance that really grabbed that for you? Because I really felt it when she was talking about the massage at the end. Like there was already moments before that, but I was like, that was the moment where it's like, oh no, she's really committed to wanting to fuck Bester.
Yeah, no, like from like there was something about her tone when they first meet, when Chen's just like, I've followed you, like the way that she laughs at his joke. Really, I'm like, oh, you got a crush so hard. You got such a big crush.
It goes from a schoolgirl crush into something far more upsetting. far more upsetting. Cough it out, Rachel. I know, Bester gets you hot. For our German guest, what was this performance like for you? And did you by chance get to see the German dub version of this performance?
Yeah, she's got schoolgirl vibes all over it. She's 10 years older than Byron. I looked it up. And her voice is also a big part in it, because he always talking like that. And the German dub is very accurate. I have it if you like. I can play it.
Oh, yes, yes, please.
A little dialogue between Alfred, his boss, and the two interns.
Nice.
Das ist Al Bester, von dem ich Ihnen erzählt habe. Es ist mir eine große Ehre. Ich beobachte Sie schon. Also sind Sie es, der nachts durch mein Schlafzimmerfenster guckt? Nein. Ich wollte sagen, ich verfolge Ihre Arbeit schon seit Jahren. Das war nur ein Witz, Chen.
Chen ist nervös. Wir sind beide nervös.
I've seen her in a couple of things in her catalogue of work. I was looking through it and I was ecstatic to see that she still does things here and there, but she's slowed down over the years, but she is, of course...
Do you know why?
Oh, you'll tell me. But she is best known, and I knew straight away who she was because I'm a big fan of the National Lampoon's Vacation movie series, and she's Audrey. She's the daughter. She's in the first one, and she's in the Cousin Eddie Christmas Vacation movie. And I love the first National Lampoon's Vacation. That's my favorite of them all. People love the Christmas one, but I love that one. And she gets some really great stuff to do, especially when they get to Cousin Eddie's place and she becomes like a stoner with Natasha Lyonne's character, because Natasha Lyonne was also in that movie. And she's a child actress who's gone on to do some adult roles, but she definitely has, as we see here, she very much has that youthful look to her. She has a baby face. So when you hear that she's in her 30s in this episode, it feels like it's a lie, because the episode also wants you to believe that she's just like a teen girl, basically. Rachel, for you, was there any roles in her filmography that you've seen before, or is it just Vacation?
Well, she is in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. She is in several episodes of Beverly Hills 90210, which she did when she was actually in high school.
And Marcus was in Beverly Hills 90210. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he was in the same episodes as her.
And these are not... This one isn't one that I've watched, but I know of. She was in a horror movie called He Knows You're Alone, which was her first film, but it was also Tom Hanks's first movie.
Oh.
So she had a very cute photo of like them on set. It was like, that's Tom Hanks. That's me. And then the other one that I noted down was she was in Magic Kid 2.
You stole that trivia point from me. Magic Kid 2 is a movie that we are familiar with because I have another podcast where we talk about movies, and we had to talk about the Magic Kid films. And by happenstance, Magic Kid 2 is directed and starring Stephen Furst. And I imagine that's how she maybe got in this episode, because a lot of the guest spot actors of B5 come from projects that the cast and crew have been in before. We see a lot of Murder, She Wrote people. Jameis and the casting directors came from that, as well as Beverly Hills 90210 and so many other things that we've listed over the years. Like and people would go on to shows like everyone's in NYPD Blue after they're in Babylon 5. It feels, and she was in Magic Kid 2 as, guess what? One of the kids. And yet she's a full-grown adult. She's supposed to be like the 14-year-old girl in that movie. And it was only a few years before this episode. And Stephen Furst is one of the lead actors of that, as well as the director of the second film, which is the one she is in. And I was delighted to see that connection, because when we did Magic Kid 2 on my other podcast, I joked that Stephen Furst would have been doing Babylon 5 at the same time. So he would be on one set crying in an elevator because an alien cut his hand and bled in front of him. And then he would have to take off the wig and go over to the set of a film to be in a kung fu action scene for children. And I was just like laughing at the idea of that happening. But here she is working with Stephen Furst yet again, and in the realm of him being director yet again. For you, our dear German friend, have you seen her in anything? Is there anything that leapt out to you?
I don't remember her from Family Vacation. It's ages that I saw this film. I was on her website too, And I especially liked on her website that she promoted a project called Snow Bright, which will be released on the Hallmark Channel on December 2013.
Her website confused me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed reading through her bio where she outs her parents as addicts.
Hey, that's her right, I guess.
It was very confusing. And then the last little bit is her saying it's the subheading is the mommy business. Because she had a kid in 2006, and that's why she slowed down on acting.
Fair enough.
And she's working in a zoo as a teacher. I read on her homepage.
Yes.
And I read about an
photo so badly photoshopped. Why?
So bad.
Okay, please.
Why is her head giant? Why?
Please explain for the yumlings what you're talking about, because I've also looked at the website, so I know what you're talking about. So she has a website.
Sascha explained it.
But there's a picture.
Yes, of her working at the zoo, feeding a giraffe, but it's not her head. It's her head, but it's not on her body.
It's a stock photo that she's put her face on. And it's very upsetting.
It's unsettling.
It makes me wince in pain. But I love it because it's a classic case of an older person making a website for themselves on the internet. Yeah, and they have the crazy fonts.
Updated in 2022.
Yeah,
but it does not look like.
But we've seen that. We've seen
Can
this.
you not afford Squarespace? Because you cannot use the excuse of not having seen an ad for it.
Excuse me, Rachel. Why change perfection? We've seen this recur with the actors on Babylon 5, in which there's lots of them
updated.
We had that for some of them in the past where they updated it a year or two ago and it still looks like it's made in 1998.
Yeah, they're just updated.
My favorite actor website is Andreas Katsoulis' website, in which it details all of the places he's acted, but also says he has not acted on a boat yet. And that's got to be one of the greatest things. He's like, I've acted in this country, I've acted on in a fucking quarry and this and this and this, but not on a boat yet. She has a crazy website. I also had a giggle at her website because it is very much going into projects that she has upcoming or had upcoming and things that she's done. But also, you said it, her life has changed. She's no longer just an actor or somebody who's just in that industry. She's moved on to other things. She's doing works with animals at some period of time. I don't know if that's still the case, but also she's a mother, and one of the points of reference on her IMDb was that she was in a long-term relationship with this guy, and they had a kid, and this guy's gone on to, he wrote several episodes of just random TV here and there, and so it's just, in the industry, and her dad, I do believe, was a director or something as well, so...
He had a acting school for commercial actors.
Yeah. There you go.
It's very specific. And she's stuck in the past very much because she's selling vacation T-shirts and cars and everything and autographs and...
why not?
Why not? And I fell into a rabbit hole.
Her money, so...
Yeah. I fell into a rabbit hole when I was looking her up on IMDb, and I found out she was... on very, very many shows, but only one or two episodes. Mm-hmm. But she was in a few episodes on a series called Crossbow, which is in the German version called Wilhelm Tell. And it's the national hero of Switzerland. I don't know if you ever heard of Wilhelm Tell.
William Tell?
Yes.
He's the Swiss version of Robin Hood.
Yes. Yes.
Crazy shit. And I found out that almost the complete series is on YouTube.
Oh.
And I looked into some episodes and I was amazed and astonished and exaggerated by the intro. It screams 90s. so much. It screams 80s, but it's produced in the 90s. No, it screams 90s, but it's produced in the 80s, in the late 80s. And they have computer effects and everything. And I say, whoa, it's Xena done very, very badly.
Oh.
That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
Xena does not scream quality, so yeah.
That's a Sam Raimi product. Don't you dare badmouth Lucy Lawless. I am mesmerized by a particular film in her catalog, which is all one word, which is Happy Thank You More Please. It's all one word. It's not got any separation between any of them. And the lead actor is Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. And this was during How I Met Your Mother.
Not a marker of quality.
And it actually has a few people in it too, like Zoe Kazan. It's just, what is this? It seems like a twee movie. Happy Thank You More Please. And I want to never watch it because it also has one of the most annoying looking posters in which it's got Ted Mosby holding the hand of a little black boy and he looks sad while doing it. And so
the boy or Ted Mosby?
Ted Mosby's holding the hand of a little black boy.
Who looks sad?
But
the boy
which one of them looks sad?
Oh, they both look sad.
Okay, that's the clarification.
Everyone looks sad except for me. We were looking at this thing. So
you look delighted.
I'm not looking sad.
What do you do when you're not here?
I sing.
Sing? Songs?
Yeah, songs. What do you do?
I write.
Words?
Yeah, words.
I think it's up to that moment, Rachel. Our rating for The Chorus Mother, The Chorus Father, would you give this a yum or a yum yum?
Yum yum. Yum yum.
I give this a yum yum as well.
Yum yum.
Definitely yum yum.
Yum yum.
Even if it's campy or sometimes a little bit bad, if I enjoy it, I will definitely give it a jum jum. The worst thing you can do, or TV can do for me, is be boring.
Yeah,
and it's definitely not boring. It's very entertaining.
Is it jum jum yum yum in German?
I think you would say lecker lecker.
Oh, I know. I Google translated it one time when I looked it up because I knew that we were going to have you on, and I was like, "What's yum yum in German?" It's this. It's very
we sneak a little into the yum, and we say yum yum.
Oh, brother!
You can't do wrong with consonants in German. So
you can't go wrong. It's
Yeah.
I mean, we all think about it, but there's the whole thing of Inglourious Bastards, where it's like, Michael Fassbender, you have an obvious British accent, and we have to come up with this whole ludicrous excuse for why your character in German would be very noticeable to any German speaker. Here's your reasoning why. What's that? Fingers gave you away, you idiots. You dummy. But we can do it. I want to hear, Rachel, what we'll be talking about next time on Babylon 5.
On an all-new Babylon 5.
Meditations on the Abyss. Delenn violates the chain of command by sending Lanier on a covert mission to find who's behind the attacks on the Alliance shipping. G'Kar copes with his emergence as a cult hero.
Should I do the German one?
Oh, yes, please.
It's called Die Wahrheit ist ein Fluss. The truth is a river.
That is in the episode, so that makes sense.
Yeah. It says, Delenn hält den Dienstweg nicht ein. Oh, that's evil. She's not following chain of command.
Yep.
And yeah.
That's bad.
Sie hält den Dienstweg nicht ein. We have a word for that. Als sie Lanier einen Geheimauftrag anvertraut. Er soll herausfinden, wer hinter den Angriffen auf die Allianzfrachter steckt. G'Kar gewöhnt sich an seinen Status als Kultheld. So it's mostly the same.
It's mostly the same. It's mostly the same, which I appreciate. I just liked hearing some of the words in there. It was just nice. It's just like I heard Colt in there.
Yeah.
So I knew we were up to that bit.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a journey between that and Jakar and that. But that's the German language for you. English would not be anything it is without the German language, so thank you.
No, we stole so much.
We make it even more annoying for ourselves.
Yeah.
I look forward to Meditations on the Abyss, or what was it in German? It was about the truth in the river, which is in reference to something Jakar has. I like that the German one is about the Jakar plot, while the English one is about the Lanier plot, which in the title, which is a fun little difference of priorities there. I actually am curious, is that a thing where the English title for episodes and the German title for episodes are different more often than not, or are they pretty much the same?
No. They're totally different and mostly spoilering. The episode, the place, the rock cried out, no hiding place. It's called Tod eines Intriganten in Germany, and it's translated like Death of an Intrigant.
Oh!
Nice.
No! I wonder what happens in this episode.
It should have just been called Reaper Dies Like a Dog. Woof woof. I like that because I would have thought oh, the titles are just the German like the name translated in German, but I can also see what that why it is like we've got to spell it out for what it is.
They do localized titles, but spoiling it.
That makes sense to me. I think that makes sense to me. That makes sense because I've seen that with things translated into English from other countries. So it's like we need to explain what this episode is because Babylon 5 in English titles are very flowery. It'll be like interludes and examinations, and then the rock cried out. No, it'll be like just this metaphorical wanky shit. It'll be like the Parliament of Dreams. Ooh, and it's like, and in German it'll probably just be like religious episode. That's what Parliament of Dreams is. Episode with religion. That's the name of that episode.
There's one classic Star Trek episode. I don't know, recall the English title, but in German it's called Der Zentralnervensystemmanipulator, and that's the most German title you can imagine.
Okay. And I
it's
wish
the manipulator of the central nerve system.
Oh! And that's the name of Spock's brain.
That's called Spock's brain in German. I don't know why.
Yeah. Because there's no German word for Spock, and brain is brain, yeah? Or no? I don't know. I'm not a German speaker, but that is our podcast. I hope everyone, you have enjoyed yourselves and our adventures through the Chorus Mother, the Chorus Father. We can be found on social media under YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast. We post on there regularly, and if you're on certain sites, you may see us interacting with the German podcast over here, the German-speaking podcast. We have little jabs and comments and things cross our paths along the way, so don't miss out. Follow us on social media. We are having a fun time. We are on all of your podcasting sites available. So if you're not following us and listening to us and subscribe to us, you should. We're on YouTube as well, and we like to post little videos on there. We have uploaded all of the Babylon 5 TV spots that are available for the season, so you will get a kick out of how the show was advertised back in the day and how they would lie to you. Were the German ads for Babylon 5 fun?
I don't recall they ever did one.
No ads for B5. It would just be one man in a black suit walk up to the screen and say, "It's on," and then
it's on.
It's on.
Watch it now. No, we had a trailer for Babylon 5, but it's was always the same. It's not a thing in German to do the next episode on next time on Babylon 5. It's not in Germany.
Yeah, the German version, it's them shouting it in a military fashion in German at you, and then just say "watch it," and then you do, and then we all rejoice, and then they don't play it anymore because you were
watch
naughty.
It or we'll shoot this kitten.
Yeah, I was shooting this kid, and the name is Wir. You don't want that to happen at all. But you guys, your podcast is available pretty much everywhere, right? If they just type it in. Everywhere. Like I said, I found you because of just Googling Babylon 5 podcasts, and there's just this podcast and it's in German, and I'm just smiling, going, that's the case. Are you on any other podcasts, or is it just that one?
No, and a whole bunch of podcasts. I just mentioned Xena. I'm one of the hosts of the only German Xena podcast with more than one episode. I have to.
You have to put that down. Rachel, we're gonna learn some German and then defeat that record.
No.
Come on.
You always, yeah. You can be our guest on the show.
Yes.
And I'm doing my with my best friend den Sie reden podcast. They talk. It's because of the movie They Live. So we say they talk, and we are talking about retro stuff there, things that impressed us as kids and adults. I was on the first The Orville podcast, German The Orville podcast, and I don't remember the other things, but I do a bunch of podcasts.
You are on too many.
That's a lot.
I was curious about all of these German podcasts and if they're all individual or if it's all like one conglomerate of German.
Apparently.
It's like
I found one that was talking about space above and beyond in German, and I was like, and I'm like, is it the same one? And I don't know, because they all have similar thumbnails to me. I don't know. I'm scared. These sci-fi German fans.
The German sci-fi podcast bubble is like the British monarchy. Everyone is rated with everyone. You will stumble on Gregor, who is in our podcast. You will find him on so much podcasts in Germany.
It's how it is. Not enough Australian sci-fi podcasts have had me on. Come on, are we the only sci-fi Australian podcast? I think so. Get over it. Come fight me if you disagree, but I have no evidence. I haven't found any Australian Star Trek podcasts recently, so might just be me now. There must be. I haven't, don't quote me on that. In fact, do quote me on it and we'll fight it out on the pod. I actually do know there is one. Actually, there's a Trek quiz podcast that's Australian hosted. So I'm a filthy liar. I know that there is one, but that is our episode. We're done. We're dusted. We're out of here. If you want to support us, we are on Patreon. We post a lot of things on there. We're going through The Expanse for the first time. We went through the RoboCop movie franchise, the X-Men movie franchise, and we've done the best and worst rated episodes of a number of different Star Trek shows.
Where we covered In the Pale Moonlight and Prophet in Lace.
And we covered Spock's Brain, the best episode of the original series, in which the question was asked, can Spock operate without his brain?
Do you know Svertrek, the Twitter channel?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
They did at some point post most of Spock's brain of the episode, but replaced Spock's brain with Spock's dick. So everything, every time a brain is mentioned, they replace it with dick.
That is what we call classy material.
Much more fun.
With the German viewing experience of Babylon 5, do you always start it off with The Gathering, or are you just someone who skips that and goes straight to the midnight on the firing line, or the first episode of the series? What's your viewing of it?
I would recommend to start with the first episode and watch the second version of the pilot.
Yes, well, I ask this because do you remember in The Gathering that Jakar used to have a farewell that never made it to the rest of the show, which was he would bang his chest and say, "Good eating to you." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Why did that go away, in your expert opinion?
It was cut out in the second version?
No. It never made, like, they said it in the second version, it's there. But he uses it, and it's supposed to be like the non-farewell, and then it's never referenced again in the show. He never says "good eating to you" ever again.
I don't know how they translated it.
I don't know how they translated it, but I'm so upset. So I'm furious that JMS, he's all about continuity. The Gathering is canon. He brings it up several times in the show, and yet he never has Jakar say good eating to you. Jakar was not in this episode, so I will say it on his behalf, and Rachel, you'll say it, and Sascha, you'll say it, and we'll all say it together. We all can say it on 3, 2, 1. Good eating to you.